So if you rewind the calendar just a little bit, we were talking about the GameFly leaks and specifically the Arcade1up 2022 roadmap being just thrown out there for all the world to see, which is great for a lot of people because they got to see, hey, look, I get to save up because a lot of these new cabinets that I've been hoping and dreaming for apparently are in the pipeline and in the works for Arcade1up. In those leaks, there was something called the Arcade1up Collectorcade. Now, there wasn't any really specific product details on those leaks. They just said the price was $99 and the ETA was mid-July. Well, fortunately, we've got some new product details to discuss about these Arcade1up Collectorcades, and I've got good news for those of you who love bad news. So jumping straight into it, we are on the Arcade1up Mortal Kombat listing on the Game website. If you've never heard of the Game, well, they are the UK retailer distributor for Arcade1up products. So if you're stateside, you never heard of them, don't worry. They are a legit business. But looking at the website, you got the Mortal Kombat 2 Collectorcade here. Has that, standard midway cabinet shape, which is great. Nice aesthetic to it. The Mortal Kombat 2 artwork. These are all digital renders because that's the way Arcade1up chooses to do business. They make digital renders, they send them out to the retailers, and they don't actually send you the image of the physical product. You don't even know what the physical product looks like until it literally shows up at your doorstep, or if you find one of these in store on display somehow, because that's the way Arcade1up chooses to do business for whatever reason. But looking at this, of course, there are going to be some concessions. Number one, it's clearly a one-player only arcade cabinet, which makes sense given its diminutive size. You got the 6-button layout, or 5-button layout with the run button there in the middle. Obviously, they don't have room to space it out with the 5, dice looking as far as the button configuration. So it makes sense that it's just 3 in a row. That tracks, I get it. But you got your 6 action buttons, your joystick, and your player 1/start button there. And that's all you get. And again, these are digital renders, the screen size and everything, that's all digital. So if you're like, oh wow, that display looks great, it's digital, don't worry. Side art, we know what this looks like as far as what to expect a Mortal Kombat 2 arcade cabinet to look like and everything. This really isn't too concerning. If you look at the kick plate though, you get to see the games listing, and this is slightly different from what you're expecting probably. So you get Mortal Kombat 2, Vanilla Mortal Kombat 3, and Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. Now I know there's been people out there asking for Vanilla Mortal Kombat 3 to be released, and as of prior to this, it hadn't been done by Arcade1up. They've always just given you Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, which in my opinion is the better game, but there's still people out there that have that affinity towards Mortal Kombat 3. Now we look at the specifications and the size and a little more of the product features. It says these Collectorcades are 13 inches tall, they have a 3.2-inch screen, a light-up marquee, and here's one of my most concerning issues with this product: 16-bit versions of your favorite arcade titles. Now, if you're not super into arcade lore and history and just knowledgeable about the arcade scene in general, that may just, roll off your shoulder and you might not think anything of it. 16 bits, favorite arcade titles. What that translates to is these are going to be the home console ports of these games and not the actual arcade ROMs, which to me is beyond disappointing, because if you're going to go through the trouble of trying to replicate this arcade, and one of your tenets of Arcade1up, one of your big selling points is, arcade authenticity, you're missing the mark, because you're giving us console versions of games on an arcade cabinet, and you're I don't know, I guess you're expecting the consumers just to be satisfied and happy with this. So $99 price point, home console ROMs instead of arcade ROMs. That's disappointing. And you look at the size, 13 inches tall. Why does this stuff sound familiar? Oh, I remember why this sounds familiar. Because there's already a company out there doing something extremely similar. So New Wave Toys, they have their line called the Replicades. This is their latest one. This is their Qbert cabinet. Stands about 11.5 inches tall, so about 1.5 inches shorter than what these Arcade1up Collectorcades are going to be like. And looking at the product dimensions, this is about 2 inches thinner, Replicade is, than the Collectorcade. So the Arcade1up one will be a little bit fatter, 1.5 inches taller. This one actually has a larger screen, so these typically have a 3.5-inch display, where these Collectorcades from Arcade1up are boasting a 3.2-inch display. So that's my biggest concern with this. Not only is it the console versions of these arcade games, but I just don't understand. Like, if you're going to come into a product category where somebody else is already in that space doing something extremely similar, you should either meet or exceed those current product offerings or those current expectations in the consumer's mind, so to speak. So where does Arcade1up exceed the Replicade? So it's bigger, I'll give them that. Their size is bigger. Screen is smaller, so they lose that category. Price is cheaper, so it's about $20 cheaper than these. These are typically about $129, $99 retail price point, rumored anyway, for these Collectorcades. But this also has HDMI out, has USB connectivity, so I can play the game on this machine with a gamepad if I so choose, and it has an internal battery. Where these Collectorcades say they run off 4 AA batteries, there's no HDMI out or USB controller connectivity, so the only way you're going to be able to play these are physically on the small control deck, which, yes, it's playable, but it's not going to be enjoyable for most people. And I get it, these are collector things. They're not meant to be somebody's, play thing to where you're sitting there playing for hours on end, working on your combos, setting high scores, anything like that. I get that 100%. These look great on a shelf. They're functional furniture or functional art, so to speak. But again, going back to like Arcade1up, if you're going to come into this product space that already exists with the Replicades, you need to outshine them in some way, or at least meet the product offerings that they are already putting out into their machines. Otherwise, you just look like a poor knockoff, because that's the vibe I'm getting for these, because arcade ROMs on the Replicades, home console ports on your Collectorcades, and that's honestly not very collector friendly. But I guess the ultimate test will be if people buy these things, so we'll find out soon enough come this July. And that does it for today's video, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think of these Arcade1up Collectorcades? Are they for you, or are you going to stick with things like the New Wave Toys Replicades, or even the larger sized Numbskull Quarter Arcades? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the content, make sure you hit that like button, share this video with your friends if you found the information helpful, and as always, thanks for watching, guys. It really means a lot.